Righty. All right, well, 3 o'clock, and I think we're live now. So, yeah, thanks for joining us today for our second Sigenergy webinar. We've got 75 joined. We've got about 300 people who've registered so far today, so maybe wait until a few more come in. But yeah, thanks everyone for taking the time to join us this afternoon during what's probably been one of the busiest times in the industry so far. Yeah, we hope it's all going well with the upcoming battery rebate, and we thought it would be a really good time to do another one of these webinars and engage with our customers and find out any questions that people might be having about Sigenergy, as well as yeah, go through some technical information about some of the common questions we get. So
Andy,
I'll just jump. Yep.
Andy, do you want to do a quick test? Can everyone hear us? You want to put it in the chat? Yeah, nice. All right, excellent. So we are going to turn the chat off during the presentation, and you can save all the questions for a little bit later when we open up that Q&A. But feel free, if you have a question, to put it in there. It might not show up, but I just anticipate that people will have a lot of questions. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to it. So Andy, take it away, mate.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. Alrighty, so there's going to be 3 of us speaking today. So there's myself, Andrew or Andy from AC Solar Warehouse. I'm our Sigenergy product specialist and electrical engineer, and also an account manager here. We're also very lucky to be joined by Pradeep today from Sigenergy. So he's the solutions manager. He's got to be one of the busiest guys in the industry at the moment. I think he's probably broken WhatsApp with all the chats he's got open and stuff, but we really appreciate you joining us today, Pradeep. We know you're a busy man. And we've also got Alder, who's our sales manager at AC Solar Warehouse, who's going to give us a brief introduction into the new CNI product. Just running through a bit of agenda of what we're going to be going through. So Pradeep is going to take us through a presentation just about Sigenergy. He'll go through some of the basics quickly for any guys we've got on who are still new to the product, as well as take us through some of the things that Sigenergy have in the pipeline, new products and updates that are coming, which is all very exciting. I'll take us through some of the most common questions we're still getting around sort of challenging sites and designs. So specifically around two-phase sites, how to identify what kind of site you're working with and what the solutions are for each option. A lot of the questions we're still getting are around just sites where you've got multiple distribution boards or, you know, third-party inverters, metering points all spread out over sites. So we will go through a few examples there, and also some solutions with the new sub 1G wireless RS485 transmitter from Sigenergy. And I'll also go through an example, or just the load assist or peak shaving function that Sigenergy have, which is a question that comes up from time to time, and it's a good thing to have up your sleeve for any sites that you might come across where that might be a really good solution for you. Then actually we're going to change the order a little bit here. So Alder's going to give us a quick sneak peek into the new SigenStack CNI product, a little bit of information there. And we'll finish up with about 10 minutes of Q&A. We do expect that there's going to be quite a few questions, so we'll get to as many as we can, and anything that we can't get to, we'll, you know, as I said, it's a good chance for us to engage. We'll see what the questions are, and we can try and generate some content afterwards to answer any common questions that are coming up. So I will get straight into it and just introduce Pradeep from Sigenergy, and he's going to present some stuff to us about yeah, Sigenergy basics and some of the new stuff that Sigenergy have coming up. Take it away, Pradeep.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, AC Solar Warehouse, for putting this webinar together. I'm just going to click on the presentation. Okay, assuming everyone can see the screen that says why choose Sigenergy, right? Cool. All right, awesome. Thanks everyone for being here. We're getting more and more people joining, which is great. I'm Pradeep Anasuri, one of the solutions managers. I'm based in Sydney. Most of you, if you've installed at least 1 or 2 systems, hopefully you've spoken to me. If you haven't, then great. That means everything is going well. So either way, it's a good thing. I've got about 10 or 15 minutes just to give you a brief overview on the product. It'll give people that already know about it just a quick recap and the new products that are coming out. And for the people who've already installed it, then it's nothing new. Did I just say that twice? Yeah, there you go. For the people who've already installed it, it'll be a recap. For the people who haven't installed it, it'll be a good overview. And I'll leave you guys with some of the resources of Facebook, our onboarding training, and things like that as well. And we've got a YouTube Sigenergy channel as well. All right. A bit of great news with people like yourself, our distributors, especially SC Solar Warehouse with webinars like this. The support's been incredible. We're pretty new to the industry in the sense we just celebrated our 3rd birthday globally in Australia, just over 2 years, Australia, New Zealand, and we're already ranked as #1 battery brand in Australia in terms of the volume for the month of March, for the month of April, and we'll get month of May soon as well. So that's, kudos to every single person that's supporting it. And the great thing about this company that I found, one of the greatest things, is the feedback that the installers give is really taken on board. One of the feedbacks we had last year was about rare cable entry for the gateways. And our founder, Tony, is actually on the Facebook page. And within about, I think, 4 weeks or 5 weeks, we had prototypes. And within about 3 months, the production started. And I'll go through a slide with the new gateway where you have the rear cable entry option as well as the bottom cable entry option. And all that came from, people like yourself. So it's really good to see that R&D support behind it as well. This is the 5-in-1 flagship SigenStor. The company name is pronounced Sigenergy, and the product is called SigenStor. If you go to other parts of the world, they'll say it differently, but yeah, that's just the way it is. But the top part is the inverter or the energy controller, because it does a lot more than just inverter functions. So we call it the energy controller. And then we got the EV DC module, which is optional, which can be added later. And then you got battery modules. We won the Red Dot Design Award, IF Design Award, International Design Awards, and it's a very prestigious thing. So the people behind it, deserve to be recognized, which is great. Going more into the product. So you can put up to 6 modules under any energy controller. So those 6 can be 6 batteries or 5 batteries plus an EV DC module. The DC charger can do bidirectional. I've got another slide that I'll go into more details about it. But the great thing about this 5-in-1 is you've got the inverter, the PV inverter. The PV inputs go into the left of the inverter here. You got the power conversion system. You got the energy management system inbuilt, and the battery packs, and an optional EV DC charger, which is capable of bidirectional. There's also an AC charger, which I'll go through as well. The greatest thing about this, when I first saw it, I was like, there's actually no one single product. It's like a bit of a Swiss Army knife that can do so many multiple things. The same SigenStor can be used for DC coupled, AC coupled. Someone already asked a question about in-phase. So AC coupled, yes. On grid, off grid. It's rated at IP66, so outdoor is fine. We just don't recommend it in direct sunlight. Commercial or residential. So we've seen systems with 1 energy controller and 1 battery, and in Spain we've got 63 of these in parallel. If you go to YouTube and type Spanish winery Sigenergy, you get that. In Bulgaria, we've done, I think, 98 systems, 4.8 megawatt hours. For a residential product, that's pretty awesome. So we're talking the same product, but multiple parallel stacks. And it can do full home backup, single phase or 3-phase. The backup output depends on what inverter size is, of course. Okay, moving on. A little bit more details. So the great thing is there's no wires, no cabling between the energy controller, the DC charger, or the batteries. It all plugs in. I don't know if I'm allowed to use the word Lego, but trademarked. So it fits in, slots in like Legos. I think I can use it as a noun. So the optocoupler, that's what it's called. It's got, one of the installers actually called me and said, oh, it's moving, it's faulty. It's meant to move a little bit, so you got a little bit of give. It's got communications, power, everything through that little optocoupler connection. And it's rated IP66, so there's no water ingress or dust ingress once it's locked in. With the single phase, the range in Australia, all CEC approved, 5, 6, 8, 10, and 12 kilowatt. With 3-phase, 5 all the way to 30 in multiples of 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. The 10 is rated at 9.99 for the DNSPs that require it. The 30 is rated at 29.9 because of the standard. It's changed to 200 kVA now, but some of the DNSPs still say, you know, once you go over 30, you need grid protection. So it's rated at 29.9 for that reason. Now, the EV DC module, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse move, but bidirectional. Mouse can move? No, maybe not. So bidirectional charging, there's two options, either the 12.5 kilowatt or the 25 kilowatt. And with the bidirectional charger, I think I have another slide, but basically you could do vehicle to home and vehicle to grid, provided the network provider allows it and provided your car, EV, allows that. We've tested with a lot of different models successfully, but it's not really released in the public. They lock it via software, but it's moving towards that. So exciting times ahead. With the batteries, there's a 5 kilowatt hour module and an 8 kilowatt hour module. You can mix and match. Just be careful that you refer back to the CEC approved list. Technically, any combination works, but for your STCs and for your grid applications, you need to make sure that it's a CEC approved combination. And like I said, you can put up to 6 batteries per stack. And then after that, if you want to add more batteries, another stack, but you still need an energy controller on top of that. You can't have batteries by themselves. So you're getting capacity of 5 kilowatt hours with one, or all the way up to 48, which is 6 times 8 kilowatt hours. Oversizing, you can actually go over 200% for single phase or 3-phase. We got a declaration letter that you can get from AC Solar Warehouse guys. That allows you to oversize basically as long as you don't exceed your ISC and VOC of the inverter datasheet, then you can oversize it even more than 200%. So it all comes down to the panel voltage, basically. With the battery, we've got industry's safest batteries, if I can say so myself without being biased. There's 5-layer protection. There's cell level temperature monitoring. There's 7 active temperature sensors. It really doesn't do justice when we show it in pictures like this. I had the privilege of going and seeing it in the factory in Shanghai. I do encourage any of you guys, if you get the opportunity, you know, we do factory tours almost every day, so we can get that arranged. When you see it in real life, it actually, it blows your mind. It's really great. It's got aerogel insulator pads between the cells. There's a decompression pressure release valve in case any kind of hot gases build up. It opens up, releases it. There's high temperature insulated pads on the inner pack wall. The 5 kilowatt hour has 9 cells and the 8 has 11, if I'm not mistaken. And every module comes with an internal fire extinguisher as a last defense. And that goes off once the temperature is 170 degrees. And that puts out aerogel material. In less than 4 seconds, it puts out any potential fires, any risks. All right. There's a very nice YouTube video on Sigenergy channel, by the way, for that. With the batteries, they're in parallel. So what that means is each battery pack actually has a DC-DC optimizer inbuilt in each of the packs. So each of the batteries is essentially working parallel to the other battery packs. Most of the other manufacturers, if you look at the right-hand side of this slide, they're connected in series, which is the reason they say, I won't mention other names, but they say that you can't add batteries after 1 year or 2 years of install. And if installers need to add more batteries, you have to get that state of charge down to a certain percentage. You need to match it, all that. With the Sigenergy batteries, you don't need any of that. You can add batteries at any point. So it's a 10-year warranty. If customer adds on the 8th year new battery, that battery pack warranty starts from the 8th year for another 10 years. The rest of the battery packs might just have 2 years left warranty. And you don't need to wait for state of charge or anything like that. And you can mix and match different state of health, different state of charge. Great, moving on. So EVDC, a bit more about the bidirectionality. So with a traditional 7 AC charger, in 1 hour of charging, it can give your car about 40 kilometer range. With a 25 kilowatt DC charger, in the same 1 hour, it can do about 130 kilometers. So we're talking 3.5 times, 4 times faster charging. Another thing why you might opt for DC is DC chargers can do bidirectional, the AC charger can't. So once it's approved by the DNSPs or your car opens up that protocol, then you could do V2G and V2H. And you can pull essentially up to 25 kilowatts, if the car allows it, to power your home. Or if you're doing Amber or things like that, to supply to the grid and make some money. So you got a 60 or 80 kilowatt hour battery on wheels in your garage when you got the EV, which is pretty cool. What else is there on this? No, moving on. So with the gateway current models, we have SP, by the way, stands for single phase. TP stands for 3-phase. With the single phase current gateway, it can do up to 12 kilowatts of inverter input or 2 inverters. So you can put 2 5s, 2 6s, or 110 or 112. With the 3-phase new Resi gateway that's coming, I think pretty much in June, pretty much this month, I believe, that can do up to 30 kilowatts, up to 2 inverter inputs. So you could do 130 kilowatt inverter, 2 15s, 3 10s, so on. So no, you can't do 3 10s, you can do 2. Yeah, so 2 inverter inputs, total of 30. That'll be the new Resi gateway range. With the CNI range, this is pretty much the current 3-phase Resi gateway that we've got. We're moving that across to the CNI. It can do up to 60 kilowatt input, and it can do up to 3 inverter inputs. Anything larger than that, AC Solar Warehouse does custom gateways, so you can place the order through them. And you can customize other things like smart port, whether you want the SPD protection, whether you need the generator input, things like that. What else is there? So 5-year standard warranty and 5 years extended warranty. The extended warranty can be purchased via your distributor for now. In the future, we'll probably do a payment system for the customer to purchase it via the app itself. Rear entry supported for the cabling for the new gateways. And it's got some LED lights. I thought these were holes until I saw the real one. It's actually LED lights. It says grid, smart port, inverter breaker. And why would you need the gateway? One and only reason, if you need backup. So all off-grid sites, you need the gateway. Okay, moving on. With the gateway, you can do 100% full 3-phase or full single-phase backup, provided the inverter can support the load current. That's all this one says. Just keeping an eye on the time. AC charger, we've got 3 models, 7 kilowatt for single-phase, or 11 or 22 kilowatt for 3-phase. It's pretty much plug and play. The only question that I ever had from installers is I can't find the RJ45 port to plug it in. And that's because they open the door and they put the door away, but the door actually has the RJ45 plug. So other than that, there was nothing else that most installers found challenging with AC charger. You can actually have either Ethernet connection to the router, you can connect it to the gateway, you can connect it to the inverter, or you could use Wi-Fi. So you got 4 ways for comms. And the AC just comes straight from the mains. Alrighty. Nearly there. 3 more slides. So my Sigen app, this is actually an older slide. We've just launched app 3.0. Blows my mind. It actually tells you where every kilowatt hour of power the source is and where the destination is. So it tells you whether it came from solar, battery, grid, and it tells you where it's been used. So I'm yet to play with it more, but if you've got the time, just feel free to look around that. This is a video. We won't actually play it here. It's on YouTube. If you type Sigenergy global CNI cases, this is one of the 336 kilowatt hour systems in Victoria. We've done I think just under 900 kilowatt hour system in Queensland. So that will be the biggest one in Australia, New Zealand for now, until one of you guys break that record. Looking forward to that. This is a Spanish winery that I spoke about. So what you can see is 2 megawatt hour system. And on this side, there's another 1 megawatt hour system. Spain gets very hot. And this is outdoors, no aircon, just a bit of ventilation. So that's been there, I think, over 2 years now, at least. We've got lots of case studies, like I said. Refer to YouTube or ask one of us, we'll tell you. I won't go too much into detail with the SigenStack. I'll leave that to Alder. This is coming with the inverter sizes 50, 99.9, 110, and 125. It's capable of backup as well. There's 3 different series, 12 kilowatt hour modules, and with a battery controller on top. I'll leave more details for Alder later. So this system that you can see is 253 kilowatt hours with a 100 kilowatt inverter. Another thing that's coming up is the new Sigen hybrid inverter. This one, we're not going to bring out all these sizes to Australia and New Zealand, but the key thing to remember here is single phase stops at 6 kilowatts, 3-phase stops at 12 kilowatts. So the reason for this is it's a very, very slim line, 99 mil thick. The noise is less than 25 dB. When we first saw it on the table, we thought it was a dummy. It's actually a real one. IP66 rated. It's a hybrid inverter, and the price of it, you need to talk to your distributor, but the price is roughly the same as a grid-tied inverter for other manufacturers. So people are getting a hybrid inverter, battery ready, no unlock fee, nothing, for the price of essentially a grid-tied, other manufacturers' grid-tied inverter. So that's something to look forward to. And that's fully capable of everything that the SigenStor can do, except the sizes are smaller. It can't do DC charger because where are you going to slot it? So the battery modules are the same, and then there's a little battery controller on top. We'll go into more details once that's CEC approved. That's probably later this year or early next year, realistically. And that's my time. So feel free to join the Facebook group, LinkedIn, YouTube channel, our website. This QR code takes you to the Sigenergy end users page. There's another Facebook group called Sigenergy Installers, Australia, New Zealand. Please do join that. It's a great community for, constructive feedback. You can share your photos. You can discuss technical things as well. And I think that's all I have. So I'll be around in the background answering questions and any sort of support. Thank you very much. Back to you, Andy.
Thanks heaps, Pradeep. I should mention as well that Sigenergy have their own training course, which we've been advertising to become accredited with, to install Sigenergy systems, to be listed on the installer map, and to claim the Sigenergy loyalty points. We actually had a typo in our publications about that. So originally the date was the 23rd of June, but we've been told by Will that our advertising said the 24th, but it's important to complete that course. It won't be an issue if you do complete it by the 24th of June. Another really good resource to get some CPD points as well, and also get up to speed with the Sigenergy basics. All right, I'll just jump back over to my presentation. Cool. Hopefully that's all popped up again now. So I thought I would just go through some of the, 3 of the most common kind of configuration questions that we get quite frequently. Just provide some diagrams to kind of summarize what the solutions are. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was 2-phase sites. We do seem to have a lot of these in Australia. It's, originally I thought it was something that was only in rural locations or, that kind of thing. But there are actually quite a few sites all around the country where this is a bit of a challenge. And the first thing to do when you come across a two-phase site is to determine exactly what kind of two-phase site it is. And there's a simple way of doing this. So I'll just go through some of the differences between the two different types of sites. So the first one, and the more sort of kind of complicated, I guess, solution is the single wire earth return, or the split phase site, which you kind of typically find in more rural locations like farms or cattle stations, or places where there's the network had to span really long distances of poles and wires. And I think it's just basically a way that they installed all of that infrastructure and reduced the costs a little bit. And those sites have so they're actually two kind of single phase supplies across each phase that are 180 degrees apart. So when you measure the phase to phase voltage, it should be around 480 volts. So you got sort of 230 or 240 volt supplies and single phase. And if you actually just take a multimeter and measure that phase to phase voltage, you can really easily determine whether it's a SWIR site. And the other type of site that you might come across is a site where there's actually a three-phase supply, but they've just brought two phases of that three-phase supply to the house. So in that situation, if you measure the phase-to-phase voltage, it should be around your sort of 415 volts. There's a 120 degree phase separation between the two phases, and that's typically maybe more of an urban area that you might find that type of two-phase site. And it's really important to do this step to identify which site it is before you actually sell the job or quote the job, because it's a different solution with Sigenergy depending which site it is. So I'll go through, the more straightforward option is, if you come across a site and it's that 415 volt, 120 degree phase separation, so you've got just two phases of a three-phase supply coming to the house. Sigenergy, actually the first that I've seen anyway in the industry to kind of modify their three-phase inverter firmware so that it will actually work. You can install the three-phase inverter and the three-phase gateway and just use two phases of that inverter. And you can do, all of the, backup, all of these kinds of things, and you're just using, phases B and C, and it's a really nice, straightforward solution. You'll have balanced phases. The only kind of limitation with this that you do need to be aware of is that because you're only using two phases, you'll then be limited to 2/3 of the inverter size. So, for example, if you've got a 15 kilowatt three-phase inverter, that's got a 5 kilowatt per phase, output capacity, and you're only using two phases, so you kind of get an overall 10 kilowatt output on those two phases. And another thing I'll mention there is that you do need to check with your DNSP, because I have heard, I know up in Energy Queensland where we are, there's still some issues with getting the applications for these kind of sites sorted out. I believe Sigenergy are working in the background with the DNSPs to, get that resolved, but it's important to check that as well. But, for hopefully down the track, this will be, it's a possible solution, everywhere. The second type of two-phase site being the single wire earth return that I mentioned earlier. So when you've got a 480 volt and a 180 degree phase separation. So there really is no solution to this without breaking down the site into two separate single phase systems, basically. So if you want to have batteries and backup on both phases, you actually need to install a single phase gateway and a single phase SigenStor on each phase and kind of treat them separately. So when you do it this way, they will appear as two separate sites in the monitoring portal, but you will then be able to get batteries and backup on both phases. The other option, if you just wanted to put one single phase system in, you can put a single phase gateway. So from this image here, if you just take out, say for example, the blue phase and connect your system to phase 1 and shift all of your essential loads across to that phase, and have that running on the gateway, you can do it that way as well. So, and yeah, we were just discussing this earlier, but the 3-phase Sigenergy power sensor, you can use that externally from the gateway to measure your net consumption from the grid in this situation, and just have your backed up loads on one phase. So that's another solution there for the for the 480 volt, 180 degree phase separation sites. The other really common questions that we do get are just around sites where you've got, multiple distribution boards and, the supply coming in, and it gets a bit difficult, where you want to install the panels and the battery is not necessarily where the main supply is, or, where you can install the gateway. So I just wanted to put a bit of a diagram together. It's not the best diagram, sorry, but hopefully it's clear enough. So just get this pointer going. So yeah, you can see here, you've got your grid supply coming in to the grid port of the gateway. If you're backing up the whole site, you can have that sort of feeding the whole site. And as long as your SigenStor is actually on that backup port, even if it's on a downstream distribution board, you can actually just have it connected there. The one thing you do need to do is make sure that you've got this Cat6 connection going back to the gateway for your communications between your inverter and battery stack. But there's absolutely no issues with doing this. I suppose the other consideration is just making sure that this cable that's already installed is suitable for the size inverter that you're putting in, to make sure you don't have any voltage rise issues, etc. But this is one way of doing it. And another question we get asked a lot is, can you do this connection between the gateway and the inverter wirelessly? So I believe Sigenergy R&D are looking into a solution for this. But in the meantime, there are third-party products you can use to do this type of connection. It's not sort of a Sigenergy product, so it's, you have to look into the specs of that particular third-party product and do some testing and that sort of thing first. But yeah, that's the only solution at the moment to get a wireless connection there. The other thing I wanted to mention is the new Sigenergy sub 1G wireless RS485 transmitter. So you can actually use this to monitor your either your consumption of the property. When you're, say for example, you've got a metering point, and I'll just jump across this slide here to explain it a bit better. But when you've got a metering point here, and your house is over here, for example, you want to install the gateway and the batteries at the house and back up loads on the house. But you also need to capture the full site loads from this metering point here. Say, for example, you've got another shed or, a granny flat or something like that you want to capture the consumption. For this situation, you can use this Sigenergy sub 1G wireless transmitter. So you can actually install your Sigenergy power sensor at the metering point here, and the sub 1G transmitter. So you do need the RS485 connection between these two products here. And then the sub 1G transmitter will actually wirelessly transmit the consumption data, or those RS485 readings, to the receiver here, which is then connected via RS485 to the SigenStor stack, which allows you to get that consumption reading without having to run a new cable if it's not possible to do so, and have your system set up this way so that you can get the full site readings without having to run any new cables or locate your gateway all the way up here, or that kind of thing. So it's a really good solution, and an integrated Sigenergy solution. The other thing I'd mention there as well is, say, for example, you had a third-party solar system on this shed distribution board here as well that you wanted to monitor and AC couple your SigenStor to. You can do the same thing and install a power sensor at this distribution board with another set of wireless transmitter receiver back to your SigenStor to then pick up the production readings from the inverter that's located at this submain without having to run the RS485 cable, a physical cable, back to that distribution board there. So it's really versatile. It's I think I'm still yet to come across a Sigenergy design issue where there hasn't been some kind of solution using this combination of products. So again, it's Sigenergy have solved a lot of different issues with that have been problems with the past with other products. So it's really good. And should say as well, any of these kind of questions, you still can come to us and we'll go through any site specifics or try and help you out with the best solution. But just wanted to go through a couple of examples there to get those ideas across. The third question that we have been getting a few times is for a setting that I don't know if is very, very well known about inside of the MySigen app, but they have a load assist or peak shaving setting, which is kind of tucked away in the settings there. And it's a really handy setting. We've come across quite a few sites. So for example, in a commercial situation, if the customer is on some kind of tariff where they get charged for the demand, so whatever their peak demand is throughout the month for consumption from the grid, you can actually use this peak shaving setting to set that max demand that you want to stay below, and have the battery stack sitting there waiting to inject power into the system to make sure that you never actually will go over that max demand. So you can avoid those expensive demand charges from the utility, and just program it all through the MySigen app to reduce the customer's bills that way. The second time that this feature comes in handy is we've come across quite a few sites where there's a bit of a limited, it could be a residential site, but maybe there's a limited supply from the network coming to that property, and they might be limited to only, say, 40 amps, which is limited by the infrastructure from the network. And they want to run more than 40 amps at the site, or they need to consume more than what the grid can deliver to their site, and you need to make sure that they don't overload their mains connection. You can use this peak shaving control through the MySigen app to basically set that value and make sure you've always got some reserved state of charge in the batteries to deliver to the system to make sure that you never exceed that maximum allowable usage from the grid. So you can just see here where those settings are in the MySigen app and what the different parameters are that you can program. So what I've seen you can do is you can actually set it up. So say, for example, you've got a regular self-consumption system. It will operate as that, under that protocol. And what you can do is set a peak shaving state of charge, which is basically the capacity that the batteries will reserve to always have available to deliver into the system to make sure you don't exceed your maximum peak power setting. So up until that point of the state of charge reserve, the system will operate as your normal self-consumption system and discharge the batteries to offset loads, charge the batteries when you've got excess solar, etc. And if it hits that peak state of charge percentage, it'll wait until you're exceeding your maximum peak power setting there to always ensure it's got that energy available to put into the system to make sure you don't exceed that. So you just really need to work out roughly how many kilowatt hours reserve you need to offset any energy consumed that's above that maximum demand threshold there. So it's a really, really good feature, and a great thing for commercial customers to help them out with if they've got those kind of tariffs or peak demand charges from the utility. And so it's just a bit of a graph here to demonstrate that a bit more. So you can see here, this is your maximum peak power setting. And so you want to make sure that you never exceed this peak power here. So, and what the system will do is if you've got, the moment you exceed that setting, the batteries will start discharging to make sure that you don't exceed this maximum peak power in kilowatts here. And all of this extra usage up here and the consumption will be absorbed by the battery and ensure that you don't draw anything more from the grid than your maximum peak power settings there. So those were sort of three of the main kind of configuration questions we get that I thought I'd just dive a little bit deeper into. If you do have any specific sites that you want to talk to with us, go through and we can help you out with finding a solution. Just have a chat with your AC Solar Warehouse account manager or have a chat with myself. We're more than happy to have a look at any difficult sites that you've got and see what solutions we can come up with. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Other than that, I'll hand it over to Alder to give us a quick debrief on the new SigenStack CNI products that are coming and a little bit of information there. This slide.
Too easy. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Pradeep. I know everyone's just getting their heads around installing batteries on all of the residential requests that are coming through. But let's quickly I'm going to provide just a brief overview into the SigenStack, which is Sigenergy's CNI product. So if you've worked with the Resi version, the SigenStack basically has the same design principles and philosophy. So it works on the same ideas on how you install, commission, and monitor a solar system with the stackable and modular design. It's the simplicity of the Resi product that we all know and love, but taking it to that CNI space. So what does that mean? It means less bells and whistles and more grunt and functionality. So in the past, we've seen CNI storage solutions that look like inverter A and storage solution B and interface C so that everything kind of works together. But with SigenStack, that's all simplified and streamlined. Like Pradeep said, they have three different sizes of inverters. We've got the 50, the 100, and the 125. And those inverters will come in three different variations. So they'll just be your standard grid tied. There'll be one that will have storage, and then one that will have storage but include backup. So those will be called the SigenStack, the HYA, and the HYB. And then you can stack anywhere from 4 to 21 of their 12 kilowatt hour modules per inverter. So this thing can scale up quite quickly and very easily for your customers. So all of that sounds great, but the real question is, when is stock arriving? So the first two, the SigenStack and the HYA, it's about 2 to 3 months away, pending CEC approval. The HYB, which is the off-grid capable version, will be released after that, so potentially in Q4. So I'm just going to launch a quick survey. So if you want to receive pricing and any other information about it, please let us know. So I'll give everyone a quick chance to do that. We also have a webinar specifically around the SigenStack, and I believe that is next month. I believe you'll be prompted to sign up for that when you leave here. We'll also send everyone information on that. So just let us know. You'll know in advance. Finally, if you've figured that this product is for you and you've already sold some jobs, like Andy said, please get in touch with your account manager or a sales member here at AC Solar Warehouse and put that pre-order in so we can factor it into any orders that we have in place. So I'm just going to give this a few more moments before I end voting. Excellent. And all right, we'll just end that. And thank you, everyone. All right, let's go back and open it up for any questions. So I know that we've had a couple rolling through, and mostly Pradeep, has been answering them. Pradeep, do you see any others that you wanna address specifically, Matt?
Yeah, we'll probably spend a few minutes because I think I can speak faster than I can type. So I'll quickly scroll through, and then we'll see. I'll just scroll from the bottom up. So we'll try and answer all these questions that we can't hear later. Just know that if your question is not answered here, it doesn't mean it won't get answered. But we'll try and do our best within the time frame.
Yeah.
So can 11 kilowatt of third-party inverter N-phase be connected to a gateway with 10 kilowatt Sigen EC? So great question. So we say third-party inverter, we try and make it 1-to-1 or larger Sigenergy inverter. The reason for that is in an off-grid state, if the third-party inverter is generating excess power and the batteries are full, the sun's shining, and there's no grid, the system will go into overvoltage protection, it'll shut down. We don't want that. That's the only reason we say 1-to-1 or larger Sigenergy compared to the third party. Now, Enphase, Fronius, SolarEdge that I know of can actually ramp down. So any of these, you can, there's a little trick that you do in the gateway. We can share that document after this presentation, which will give it a signal that it's off grid. So you give it a 0 or a 1 signal for Enphase Envoy, for example, and then under 0 signal, which means on grid, you operate at full capacity. Under the 1 signal, when it's off grid, you ramp down to match the Sigenergy or lower. So hopefully that answers that question. When will all your battery options be usable in Pylon? It should be all available now. If there's anything missing, send us an email, service.au@sigenergy.com, and we'll get that added. Is there inbuilt fault current protection between battery and PV connection? Good question. Yes. Okay, that's ticked. Can generator be called on to start due to high load as well as low battery? Yes. So under generator settings, you can actually select load condition or time of use or both. So yes, you can. Did you want to take this one, Andy? With load assist in off-grid mode, can the SIG call on backup generator to provide greater than 10 kilowatt overall?
Oh. Yeah, so I imagine it's a good question, but I guess the scenario would be if you had your peak shaving state of charge and you maybe, but if you also were running a generator and you had, you reached your generator startup percentage, like say, for example, 20% battery state of charge, you want to start the generator up. Do you think that would, I assume it would probably work in conjunction with the load or the peak shaving control settings and start the generator up to power whatever loads are there and recharge the batteries?
Yeah, 100%. Exactly right. So think of the generator as an alternative grid supply, and that's 100% right. So all you're doing is the generator is an alternative grid supply, which supplies to the load first, prioritizes the load, and then if there's excess power, any leftover power, it can go to charge the batteries. So 100%. Thanks for the presentation. Thanks for the attendance. That's good. With the 3-phase power sensors, do we set the CT ratings via the SIG app, or do we need to set the settings via the small screen and the buttons on the power sensor? So the power sensor is essentially just an Estron meter. It comes pre-configured. So if you need to change any of the rates, which you shouldn't need to unless someone changed it wrongly, then it's on the meter itself, not on the MySigen app. Good question, though.
I think someone's asked, not sure if it's been asked, but what's the difference? Can they be installed apart? And I think they were referring to the what's it called, the SigenStor and Gateway.
So the comms connection between the energy controller SigenStor and the gateway is RJ45 terminated Cat6 cable. The theoretical max is 100 meters. But I would kind of start looking at, less than 80 meters realistically, unless you got power over Ethernet, and that brings in its own set of challenges. So what I would do is less than 100 meters, let's say, theoretical max.
Yeah, okay. I've got another question here. If we install new Sigen hybrid inverter at stage 1, then later we need to add the energy controller at stage 2 along with batteries. So will the hybrid inverter remain effective at stage 2 when the energy controller and battery are added? I think that has to do with the new hybrid inverter that you spoke about.
Sure. Can you put a green tick on it and I'll see the question?
There you go.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So with the new hybrid inverter, yes, you can add batteries just with that inverter with the battery controller on top, or you can still add energy controller, gateway, everything. And then that's essentially just becoming like an AC coupled system. So you can do that as well. So it'll still stay effective, but it'll be like an AC coupled system.
Yeah, right. All right, we've got another one I'll put a green tick on. Are the micros coming to Australia?
Yeah, I removed that slide just because of time. It is coming. It's in the pipeline, but realistically, I don't know if it'll be this year. So I don't have an exact timeline, but yes, it is coming. More than likely, it'll be the 800 and the 1000 watt, which is 2 for 1. So 2 panels, 1 microinverter. That's what we're looking at bringing to Australia, New Zealand.
All right. Got a question here. Can we connect the power sensor to the RS485 in the gateway?
Great question. At the moment, the answer is no. We're looking at it for future. That would be very, very convenient. I know. I've been to sites where I wish that was there. So definitely requested R&D, but right now, no.
Yep. Another question. If battery is fully charged, grid is down, load is greater than 10 kilowatts, will generator be started to load assist?
Yeah, we had that one before, actually. So yeah.
Okay. Yep. We've sorted that one. All right. Someone's asking about a catch power gateway integration.
No, nothing like that in the pipeline.
Yep. All right. We've spoken about distance.
Wireless transmitters. So with the sub 1G kit that Andy spoke about, the theoretical distance, we say up to 200 meters if there's line of sight. We've tested with, obstructions in the way, 30, 40 meters away, and it's still working well. So on paper, 200 meters line of sight.
Yep.
For the sub 1G kit.
Here's another. Can peak shaving mode track load and grid charge when load is less than peak demand limit?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what will happen is if the batteries fall below that the reserve state of charge, and they'll recharge below the max kilowatt threshold that you set to get you back up to that reserve state of charge for peak shaving.
Yep. Yeah, nice. Here's an interesting one. Can the battery mode be set up with one mode for weekdays and another for weekends?
That's a great suggestion, actually. At the moment, no, but I will write that down. Because someone else asked me just this morning if they can have different schedules for summer and different schedules for winter. So that's something similar. So with time of use, you can actually set... no, you can't. You want self-consumption during certain time. So actually, under time of use, for now, I will take that suggestion to R&D. But as of now, to achieve that in a different way, if you go to operating mode, go to time of use, and you set charging, discharging, and self-consumption, and you can actually choose the days, weekdays, weekends, and you can choose the times. So you can kind of achieve that. But I know what you're saying, and we will look into that, different modes.
Yeah, it's a cool idea.
A good question here, Pradeep, that I'd be interested to get your opinion on, because Vivian's asked, what do we do with 5 and 8 for the battery rebate when adding more? So for example, if you install a 13 kilowatt hour and you add another 8 kilowatt hour, and that's not one of the listed combos, but I would have thought because you've already claimed the STCs, and if you add another module, you've already claimed the battery rebate and the STC rebate for the panels, so it wouldn't be too much of an issue. But is that your take as well, or?
No, because technically, yes, you can mix and match any battery modules and it'll work from a technical point of view. But then when it's not a CEC approved combination, then if there's an inspection or if there's anything, then technically that's not a approved combination to be installed. So my formal answer is no. But in terms of the rebate claiming thing, what we're thinking is we'll work with our the rebate providers, Formbe, Green Peak, Greenbank, all those other STC traders, we'll work with them and we'll make sure that we supply the information that they need for the regulator, and everything can be tracked. So yeah, don't do anything dodgy, follow the rules strictly. There's I think we can stay here for another 2 hours, we still won't finish, so we'll keep going through some more, but like I said, any of the questions that are not answered, they will be answered later. There was a question about how to change bonding or binding. So anything that's to do with an installed system or troubleshooting, the best way is to actually raise a service ticket on the MySigen app. So on the main screen of your MySigen app, you click on service support, and then you create a ticket, just so that it can be tracked and followed up and answered and actioned quickly.
Yep. Is there anything else, Pradeep, that you see that stands out to you that you haven't?
I'll quickly scroll through. There's a lot of questions.
There's a good one here, Pradeep, that we get quite a bit, but what would you say is the best way of controlling hot water systems now with Sigenergy? Like, I know there's these Shelly relays. Is that the best way now to do it, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's no one best way. It depends on the situation. If the customer, for example, doesn't need the smart port for generator, then that's free. They can use that to connect any of the one controllable load. But if the customer's got multiple loads, they want to control a washing machine, the hot water, the aircon, etc., then Shelly relay would be the best. If with the generator, you can actually connect it to the smart port, or you can connect it to the grid port with an ATS. Just have to tick that box under gateway settings, which says very clearly generator connected via grid port. So you check that box. So you can free up smart port, but the limitation is there's only one smart port for Australia, New Zealand gateways. So it just depends on the situation. So Shelly, smart port, or any third-party devices.
Yeah. And do you have some, with an immersion heater controller, for example, running off the smart port, that's all fine doing it that way, or?
Yeah, so as long as you're not exceeding the current. I mean, the single-phase smart port is rated 63 amps, so it's pretty big, and the three-phase is 125 amps, so you're not gonna exceed that, I don't think.
Yeah.
There's a question about battery warranty, 10 years or throughput. So I've sent the link for that. It's whichever comes first. We don't count the cycles. It's based on throughput or up to 10 years. So whichever comes first. Okay, anything else?
There's a good one here, which is, can the gateway control export limits on a site when used as an AC coupled battery? And I saw a good update from you about that, Pradeep, that it can do a hard export limit and disconnect the AC coupled inverter, but it's not able to ramp up and down that inverter to control export, is my understanding. But
yeah, that's exactly right. So we can't control the third-party inverter's export limit. So if, for example, there's a third-party inverter there, the meter that it's already got, use that to control the export for that, or use third-party devices like Catch. But there is a little trick way, if you like, which is once the export limit, for example, you got a 5 kilowatt Fronius, 5 kilowatt Sigenergy, you can't control the Fronius, but you can set the export limit as 5, and the Sigenergy can go from 5 down to all the way to 0 to make sure that the Fronius, if it goes up to 5. But if you've got a bigger Fronius inverter, for example, then it'll just shut down as a hard export limit. But we don't really encourage that. You're better off using a third-party device to control third-party inverters.
Yeah. There's one here which I actually don't think I mentioned when I went through the slide about the sub 1G transmitter, but the maximum distance is 200 meters. But there's obviously a lot of variables that go into each site with that as far as obstructions go, things like that. But I think you might have touched on that before as well, Pradeep. But yeah, so bit of a site-specific thing, I suppose, but 200 meters theoretically.
Yep. There was a question about 5 and an 8, but I can't see what the follow-up question was.
That's right. I think we'll we're at an hour now. So yeah, like Pradeep said, we'll get a printout of all the questions that people asked, and we'll try and follow up with everyone accordingly. So yeah, just want to thank everyone for attending. If you have any ideas about what else you'd like to see AC Solar Warehouse and Sigenergy put on, what questions you have, please let us know. We would, we're always keen for your feedback on how things can be better and how we can better support you. So with that being said, Andy, thanks very much. Pradeep, as always, mate, we really appreciate your time. We'll see everyone when we see you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the time and effort. Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Bye.